We're back at Pittodrie after Europa League heartbreak in Budapest in midweek, but they're expecting a very healthy crowd for the visit of Falkirk tomorrow in the Scottish Premiership. Roughly 18,000 tickets have been sold. Maybe we'll put some more bums on seats come 3 o'clock tomorrow at Pittodrie. Aberdeen against Falkirk. Here's your table. So a win tomorrow will take us, depending how other results go, because there's plenty of games tomorrow as well, including, those two from Rangers, those two from Dundee, etc., etc. But let's take care of our own business, get our first league win of the season, and let's start climbing this table. Hi everybody, how you doing? A very warm welcome to Ali Beg ABTV this Saturday night ahead of our game against Falkirk tomorrow at Pittodrie. This is the preview show and I've got plenty lined up for you tonight. It's a comprehensive build-up and I'm looking for you to get involved and come and have your say. Couple of bits and pieces that have come out of the football club today. Let's take care of that first and foremost before we get on to tomorrow's game. So, highly rated 19-year-old Scotland youth international Mitchell Frame has joined Aberdeen today. He made one senior appearance for Celtic in the Champions League a couple of seasons ago, and he's penned a 4-year deal. And he did the normalities this afternoon at Cormack Park, all his media work, and he also spoke to the club's own Red TV. This is what he had to say about joining the club and what type of player he is as well.
I'm a left back, but I like to get forward as much as I can. I'm quite an attacking left back. I like to get up and try and get crosses in, get as much assists as possible. But I like to defend, and I take pride in defending. I like to go 1v1 with players, and I like to take pride in getting the 1v1 and coming out on top. Yeah, it is. It's really exciting. Like I said, it's the next step into adulthood. To go and move away and have your own flat and look after yourself. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And the very best of luck to the lad. Don't forget, Ali Beg ABTV is supported and brought to you by Saltire Energy, the global market leader in specialist drilling equipment rental. Not just that, they offer a number of services: torquing, testing, refurbishment and welding. If any of those interest you, get in touch with me and I'll put you in direct touch with the guys at Saltire Energy, a market leader, of course, in the oil and gas industry. So, what do you think of Mitchell Frame joining the Dons? Personally, I think it's a great move. Quite interesting, the reaction from Celtic fans is that they can't understand why they've let him go. Such a promising youngster, but was finding it very difficult to break into Brendan Rodgers' side. So, I don't think he'll go straight into the team tomorrow. I think he'll go in the squad, but I don't think he'll go straight into the team. I've predicted my team. This is the side that I want to start the game against Falkirk tomorrow. So I'll do that, and I'll show you the formation that I want to play as well, and then you can have your top in. So let's get the old tin hat on first of all and see how it goes. So, couple of changes. Dimitar to stay in goal, Nicky Devlin to remain at right back, Alexander Jensen to go to left back, Jack Milne and Alfie through the middle. Then I really want Dante and Ante to play together just in front of the back four, with Nicholas, Toppy either side, Adil through the middle, and Esther to play as the lone striker. Now you can argue the toss how you see that. So this is how I think the formation will be. Well, this is what I want. I've got to be honest. I want Dante just to drop back into midfield. Honestly, I was baffled why he came off on Thursday night. I thought he was really influencing the game. I thought his physical presence was making it difficult for FCSB before the obvious difficulties that we had. But I would like to see him start tomorrow alongside Ante to see how these two perform together. I quite like Adil to sort of play in this free role. I quite like how he just floats about and tries to influence our final third. So I like to see him there. I want Nicholas back in, I have to be honest. I think he's been a bright spark for us. I don't think he played that well when he came on Thursday. But I think against Falkirk, this is a perfect game to get him back up to speed. Toppy over on the left, Esther to play as the lone striker. So what do we have to do? Well, it's very simple, isn't it? We have to use pace, width and overlapping runs to expose Falkirk's defence. We have to aim for strong midfield pressing to force turnovers. Hence why I want the physical presence of Ante and Dante. Take early control of possession and tempo so that we unsettle Falkirk. Leverage width and pressing to exploit Falkirk's weaknesses. Now, if you watch the game against Celtic in the Cup, Celtic hit them fast, quick, through the transitions, played ball to feet, they couldn't cope with it. That's what I'm hoping we do tomorrow. And of course, we must balance attacking intent with defensive discipline and not continue these schoolboy errors that have dogged our season so far. If you look at the 3 goals that we conceded against FCSB in the Europa League qualifier, it all came from individual errors. Yes, we can argue the toss about the penalty. I've had my say on that. But if Alexander was switched on, he would never have been in that situation. So we have to stay switched on. And it was interesting yesterday with Don Vasse, who came on, this new sports psychologist that introduced him to you yesterday on the show. And thank you for the feedback, by the way. I was delighted to receive a lot of feedback about it, how many of you found it really, really interesting, particularly the topic of I must and I wonder, which Don talks about. If you missed it, it's on catch up. And what he talks about is the pressure that players feel. I must score. I must play well. And it's an immediate pressure. And what he's trying to convey is switch I must to I wonder. I wonder how I'll play today. I wonder if I can take that chance. I wonder if I can make that pass. And it automatically switches from pressure to a positive way of thinking. I thought that was really interesting yesterday. And we will continue with Don throughout the season. So look out for that. I'm going to get you guys on in just a moment, but let's just again gently remind you that we have other sponsors here on Alibeg ABTV. Craig International, redefining global procurement. They have 10 offices based strategically across the globe. They are a market leader in procurement services, and very much like before, if you wish to have any sort of procurement services, and trust me, they are a market leader and they have many experts who would be more than happy to help you. Just get in touch with me and I'll put you in touch with them direct. Right, just let me clear the timeline before we move on, because I do have a couple of other bits and pieces that I want to get in there for you. Okay, let's get that in before we forget. Where are we? Where are you? Right, so we've got that. And I want this in as well. Where are they? Hang on a second, bear with me. Where have they gone? There we go. And I also want to get that in as well. How's your weekend been so far? How's your Saturday been? Been up to anything exciting? Anything interesting? And then there's one last thing to go in and then we are set. So no manager press conference today. Didn't give a presser after the Europa League game, but he did speak to the club media after Thursday's game and just reiterated the point how important it is to get the league campaign up and running starting tomorrow. And reaffirming about individual errors and sort of alleviating the spirit and getting further forward and not making mistakes and staying in the game, all that sort of stuff. It'd be more. I would like to have seen a press conference today, just so a couple of questions could have been thrown his way, particularly about the thought behind the substitutions on Thursday night. But let's see what he has to say after the game. Right, let's get you guys on and see how you are tonight. Right, let me just pause that. We'll get the old bins on. So Paul Hannon came on and said, "Evening, Ali. Hope you got home okay on your bike the other night before the weather turned." I didn't. I got caught right in the middle of it. You must have seen the storm that was here last night. I got to be honest, I was a wee bit nervous going home because the lightning. Oh my God. Honestly, it was like Halloween. Right, Gordon Keith Ritchie. Good evening all. Tomorrow will be a hard game. We need to get a few wins and get a good run going as well. Yeah, we need to. Starting tomorrow. Graham Clark says, good evening everybody, hope everybody is well and had a chance to calm down slightly after Thursday night. I'm still hugely frustrated while also trying to let it go. 3 points is a must tomorrow. Paul Hannon says, I like the sound of the frame, kind of similar to Jack McKenzie. I'm hoping for a few more through the door before the deadline with it looking like Shady and Boyd away. Ronan Hale is a good shout. You keep talking about Ronan Hale. He's not. I don't think he'll come. What's your thoughts on Fletcher Boyd? Let me know your thoughts on that. Because honestly, if he goes, I'll be very disappointed. The clubs are apparently negotiating a fee as it stands. And if he goes and Shaden goes, and apparently, according to reports, a fee has been agreed, then if nothing happens come the close of the window, which I think it will, but if it doesn't, that's going to leave us weaker than last season, which for me is criminal. Colin Gale says, I believe the transfer window closes at 11 p.m. in Scotland and 7 p.m. in England on Monday. I think you're right, actually, Colin. Graham Clark says, glad that there's a left back covered now with young Freeman. Hopefully he develops into a great player, although he's going to need time. Hopefully I strike it in by Monday. That's a must. And we also maybe need to think of another CM, central midfielder. I agree with you, mate. Colin Gale says, I'd like to see Kjartansson get a chance. Reminds me of a Lewis Ferguson, and although only 18, he can look after himself. Yeah, I wouldn't mind to see the lad at some point tomorrow. Graham Gibbs says, the system with transfer windows must be wrong. It is sacrilege that Scottish teams play in Europe without full squads. Needs changing. Ryan Ellington is here, wishing you all a good evening. He's hoping for a big win tomorrow, as is David Horn. He said it's a must win tomorrow. As does El Fidelo. He says no excuses. Stephen Cowie is here. Got to engineer a convincing win tomorrow and move up the table. Graham Clark says, great that we are bringing in these young players to develop and become better, which can only benefit the club in the long run if it pays off. My question though now is, what's the point in our youth system? I agree, Graham. Alan Nichols says, Jimmy needs to get his team selection sorted. Too many changes game after game. We need consistency, and I mean winning, not losing. Fraser Gunn is here. How are we doing, Fraser? Looking forward to the trip north for the game tomorrow, hoping we can kickstart our league season. Team selection will be interesting. He wants to see it freshened up. Graham Clark came back to say, if Boyd does leave, as disappointed as I'll be, I wouldn't blame him. Can only imagine the frustration of seeing the club bringing in these young players and he's not getting a look in. I feel for him, to be honest. Matthew Cools here. How are we doing, Matthew? We must win tomorrow. Gutted about Bojan. It's done now. Let's move on. Stand free. David Gold says, good evening. Graham Gibbs says, recruitment team, please, we need a lift. We so badly need a striker. Please. David Owen says, good evening, Ali. Europa League gone. Time to put it on the back burner and concentrate on the league. Neil Sinclair's here. As is Kaiser. How are we doing, Kaiser? Cameron Young says, hope we can get the result tomorrow against Falkirk. Hopefully we sign a striker and a midfielder before Monday's deadline. Good to have Frame in the door. Was that meant or was that tongue-in-cheek? DM says, hi Ali, hi Dandies. Any word on any more signings? Barry Cools here. How are we doing, Baz? He says, evening dandies. Let's see what players JT decides to pick. Maybe see this new lad from Celtic. As I said, Barry, I don't think he'll start, but I'm really intrigued to see if he plays his part. And I have to admit, I'd like to see Kjartansson maybe have a wee go. And depending how he's done in training, depending how he's settled in, maybe Lazetic as well. Let's maybe start getting some of these young lads in, start freshening things up a wee bit, start getting them much needed match minutes and fitness. Because these guys could be pivotal to us. They really could. Sheep on Fire says, hi Dandies, I must win tomorrow. I would love to see great performances, but win is the most important. Nielsen can't be anywhere near the pitch. I agree. Sorry, but I'm done with him. John Grant, hi John. He says, hi all. I wonder who Yimmy will pick. Plenty players to pick from. I wonder if any of the new signings will play. I am starting to warm to your idea of 3 at the back to give a more attacking option. Paul Donaldson is wishing you all a good evening. Barry Cole says, Jensen is not cutting it. Nielsen will start. God. Kilted Warrior is here. Neil Sinclair says, it would be great if the new lad can have a good go, although other more deserving players, i.e. Boyd, seemingly looking to head elsewhere. Who can blame him? Barry Cole is suggesting that if we don't win, questions about JT will start. I've got to be honest, Barry, I think those questions have already started. Kenny Salvin says, let's get a good win tomorrow. He's hoping for a 4 or a 5-0 win. Graham Gibb is asking why I've not gone with Knutsas. Right, I'll tell you why. Because I thought he looked a little bit jittery. Just a touch. And it's the first time I've seen it in him. I don't know what happened, but I felt that he looked, when we went down to 10 men, he looked a little bit unsettled. I can't quite put my finger on it, but there was just something about him that suggested to me that he was a wee bit jittery. Hence why I've taken him out and stuck Alfie in there. Tobas, let's not forget, is still injured. That's why he's not there either. Can't be bothered said, I've got a feeling we might see a centre-back pairing of Malloy and Dorrington tomorrow. Interesting. Elfie Dello says, Jensen is too easily caught out of position and continually slows down attacks by turning backwards. DM says, nothing other than a win is needed tomorrow. As simple as that. Okay, got a couple of other bits and pieces I want to show you. So, here are your match facts. This will be the first league meeting between the two sides since the Dons won 1-0 in April 2010 under Mark McGee. We also beat them in the League Cup a couple of years after that. Aberdeen are the only side without a goal nor a point in the Premiership this season. The Dons last failed to score in their opening 3 games of a league campaign. That came back in 2011-2012. Aberdeen have only lost 1 of their past 18 home league games against newly promoted opponents, winning 10 and drawing 7. Ross Hardy is the man in the middle. Nick Walsh is on VAR for us. If you are heading to the game tomorrow, this is what your red matchday programme cover looks like, with Ashish on the front cover. Superbly designed as always by Dolly Digital. Brilliantly edited as always by Malcolm Panton, with the usual features, stories, historical information for you to enjoy before, at halftime and after the game. ABTV is also brought to you and sponsored by Quipco International, who service the oil and gas industry. They have a purpose-built repair facility in Abu Dhabi where they offer many services: cleaning, inspecting, refurbishment, manufacturing. They do things like CNC machining, circulating subs, casting swedges, fishing tools. They have so many services. If you need any of them, please feel free to get in touch. Those are the direct details. If not, like always, get in touch with me and I will put you in touch with Quipco. They're servicing the entire Middle East and beyond. Don't forget to like tonight's show if you're enjoying it so far. Thank you for all the comments. We'll get back to them in just a moment. And please consider to subscribe to the channel. We're building really nicely. Honestly, I'm absolutely delighted with how it's going on a week-to-week basis. But let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. What am I doing? Get them back on. You need them, fella. Right. Kaiser. Interesting point from Kaiser. He says, so far the new signings that's played have been murder. Ashish has shown some nice touches, but not much else. I think he's done alright. I got to be honest, I like him. And I think he can become a decent player for us this season, I got to be honest. Nicholas, I think, has done okay. Wasn't great when he came on Thursday night, but has shown flashes in games so far why he was so highly thought of back home in Australia. I think he's going to be a great signing for us. The jury's still out on the others. Very much so. Scott Bowie says, neither do I, Kaiser. Forever gets caught out and always good to ask questions. Feel we need a bit more experience mid to late 20s. Red Army says, losing Boyd will be a blow. Neil Sinclair says, we need a convincing win tomorrow. Right, you stop it. Hang on. Barry Cole says, Graham Shinney doesn't seem to do the screaming at players like he used to. Dave B said, my concern is you have no left-footed players in the defence. Leave Canusta in, then I agree with your team. Kaiser came back to say the Europa Conference League draw is really poor for us. You want glamour games or winnable games. Our group is neither. Oh, the Europa Conference dates and fixtures are now out. The club has just posted a couple of minutes ago. Okay, let's have a wee look. Here we go. Right. Let's tell you while we're here. Oh my God, I can't see that. Right, hang on. Bear with me. Let's have a wee look. Right, so. Okay, match day 1. 8 o'clock, British summertime kickoff. Against... Who's that? Good Lord, hang on. Let me have a wee look. While we're all here, hang on, let's have a quick look while we're here. So, there we go. Right, so let's have a wee look. Okay, so, Shakhtar on the 2nd of October. 8 o'clock kickoff. Then we travel to Greece on the 23rd to take on Athens. Kickoff 18:45. Central Eastern Europe, no, what's that? Central European time. So that'll be 18:45. So that'll be a 5:45 kickoff, I think, back home. Okay, after that, we then get into November, the 6th of November, away in Cyprus. Same kickoff, 5:45. No, 5:45, I beg your pardon. Then at the end of November, FC Noah from Armenia at Pittodrie, 8 o'clock kickoff. Then Strasbourg on the 11th of December at Pittodrie. So 2 games at home, 2 games away in succession. 8 o'clock kickoff there. And then on the 18th, just before Christmas, Sparta Prague from the Czech Republic. That'll be an 8 o'clock kickoff as well in the UK. Ticket information will be shared in due course, the club have said. There we go. Thank you, Paul. Right, Scott Bowie says, don't get why we sign players and need time to bed them in. Surely we should be signing players to go straight into the team. It's a good argument. It is a good argument. Andy B says, if Polvara starts as one of the 2 holding players, I'll know that Yeti has lost the plot. He won't be a holding player. I don't think he will. I think what he'll do is, what I'm hoping is that he'll sit with Ante, but he's the one that can get forward and he can support. I would like Ante to be the sort of the anchor, but Dante to get forward. That's what I want him to do, because I think he's dangerous going forward. So it's not to sit. It's for him to anchor alongside Ante, but when he can, get forward at every opportunity. Keith McDonald said that he's sad to see Fletcher go. He looked like a great player for the future when he played and scored in some games at the end of the 23-24 season. Sorry, just going through your comments here. Sorry, bear with me. Oh, a lot of you have got into that chat. I'm not wasting my energy or my breath on that chat. David Gold is saying that this late transfer window activity makes me nervous. Yeah, it's making us all nervous, fella. Guys is reiterating a point that I said earlier. We have a far weaker squad than this time last year. It's true. Stuart Main, season starts tomorrow. Kaiser said, I've said before, far too many project signings untried at any kind of level. You know, it's a good point. You can't argue with the point. Scott Bowie says, don't get why we sign players and need time to bed them in. We need them to go straight in. Neil Strachan says, hi Ali, I think the score tomorrow will be 4-2 to us. Come on the Dons, make us happy. Right, guys, I shall leave it there. Thank you so much, as always, for coming on. There will be a review show. So I've decided not to do the watch-along show. And the reason being is because the game is available on pay-per-view. So why come and listen to me talk utter nonsense when you can just pay a small fee to watch the game? So that's my thinking. If games were not televised or not on PPV, and then, you know, if I don't have my kids, then I would definitely do watch-alongs. But tomorrow I've decided not to do it. But we will be back on Monday, which will be an interesting show, because we'll have Andrew back to look back on the Falkirk game, so we'll get his expert analysis. And also, it's getting closer and closer to the window shutting. So, yeah, we'll be back on Monday. So all that's left to say is the very best of luck to the lads tomorrow. It's very simple. It's really, really simple. Just win. Good night, guys. See you on Monday. Stand free.